In this video, we will be reviewing CFAM 353, Revenue Budget Planning. Revenue budget planning is very similar to 352 expenditure budget planning, but you might handle this one a little differently. With 352, I recommend you use the download feature for import. However, I recommend with 353 that you enter your revenue manually. It's not that much, even if you filter to Fund 2, which you see here. That's not that many lines, and there's not that much variance from year to year. You can kind of go over each year and compare, and that's what this is for. This is for planning and analysis. So when you go to, say, Fund 8, and you'll see this list gets much shorter. So it's actually quicker to just type the entries in once you determine the amount you want to budget for each line item, object, and source of funds for this upcoming year. We're on Fund 8, Food Service, and we can see what was over budget or under budget. If you look at the sheet on the left, then you will see the red items were under budget. That is identified by this key down here. You can filter, if I want to narrow my focus to just those that are under budget, then that's what I look at. Now remember, we're talking about revenue. So anything in revenue that's under budget is more of a concern, whereas with expenditures, if it's under budget, that's a positive. It's right the opposite with revenue. So we're looking at these are the ones that are concerned, the ones in red. You can look at the series from each year, how it's changed, what you budgeted before, and how much you missed that by. The revenue for the selected year on 32520, food service state matching revenue that was actually received was $1,774, but we budgeted for this district $2,000, which is pretty close because you never know how that's going to shake out. So that's not really of concern as far as the amount, but this just helps narrow your focus onto which ones you may want to change for the upcoming year. Now let's flip that and let's see how much we were over. It's good to be over budget in revenue, but if it's really drastic difference, you may want to make some changes for the upcoming year. So you can go through these and look at them individually. And remember, this column is the revenue budget for selected year. We've selected year 22. This is the actual revenue that was received per line item in FY22. I'm going to go to the top right, choose the little download icon, choose crosstab. I want that to be in Excel. So now I've opened the file that I just downloaded, and this is what it looks like. I mean, it's just a raw spreadsheet. For those of you that like spreadsheets like me, you may want to handle it this way. I wanted to bring attention to this column that is there for you. It is the next year's budget. So it gives you a place to enter the next year's budget in line with each line item that has a budget. So if you're inclined to use a spreadsheet, you may want to filter or change this up just to make it a little easier to work with. I'm not going to go over all the details, but this is something you may want to do with this budget planning sheet. Okay, so now I'm finished with that, and I wanted to go over what I did. So I hit some columns, applied a filter so I can sort. So I left the most relevant columns to me. One thing you're always going to need is your object, your budget unit for revenue, and then the descriptions for those are the source of funds detail and the object detail. Those are nice if you're for planning purposes. I left the whether or not you were over or under budget in the previous year. I did leave the revenue for the selected year, which is 22, and the revenue for the selected year of budget. You do have 2 other years that you can reference, but I always find it easier with my planning just to look at the previous year. So I can look, the revenue for the selected year was 1.5 million. We budgeted 1.4. If I look at that's my property taxes through July through December, if I think I'm going to receive the same that I did this year, because there might have been reasons that we were over budget. Maybe there was some back taxes paid and caught up, so maybe received more of the taxes you were supposed to get from previous years, and therefore it's up, even though your calculation may be true to form that it on average 1.4 million a year. But I might change this a little bit. Let's say it's 1.45. I'm going to go ahead and put this in dollar format, and I've got too many zeros there. And so that's 1450. So this could be my planning sheet. So now if I wanted to print this, I want to go to print it. So that gives me 3 pages. That should look pretty good, so I can save as PDF. And if I printed this out, I have this green column to just write in my numbers compared to the previous year, and then I can key those in to eFinance at my leisure. So there's lots of different ways to do this, whichever you prefer. If you like the old school way and print it out, do this. You can use CFAM 353 to make your printout a little more easy to work with. You could also do that directly from CFAM by just hitting download PDF, change to specific sheets from this dashboard. Go to scaling and you want to do at most 1 page wide, and you want to do letter. You could do landscape. Let's just see how that works out. And this is the printout directly from CFAM. So if you just wanted to write your numbers in to the right, you got a little space here where you could work that. And that way you wouldn't have to deal with spreadsheets. If you're not a spreadsheet fan, that keeps you entirely within CFAM and eFinance where you're comfortable. So whichever method works for you, there's lots of different ways to use CFAM 353. Thank you for watching.